Well, our Emily Rose is with firefighters from the Ramat Gan station, which is just outside Tel Aviv. Emily, Lag BaOmer probably usually the busiest night anyway of the year for firefighters, but certainly a special emphasis on this holiday.
Yes, actually, right now we are in Bnei Brak, which was considered the epicenter of this crisis just a few weeks ago. And here, these firefighters are really looking out for any issues or any incidents that may get out of control. Now, ordinarily on Lag BaOmer, they would be dealing with a whole array of different fire-related incidents, from burns to burn victims to having to put out fires that people started but couldn't keep control of. And tonight, as we've been patrolling this area, we've seen that it's mostly been calm, and that's because of a regulation that's been put in place. Anyone who does start a private fire could even be slapped with a 500 shekel fine. That's about $150, pretty steep for what is just a holiday ritual. And it looks as though, from what we've seen over the course of the night, people really are keeping those restrictions and they're not starting those fires.
Now, of course, you're out there wearing your mask, Emily, and I imagine the firefighters too want to be concerned that they are protected as they go out into some areas like Bnei Brak, which have been epicenters of the COVID-19 here in Israel.
Yes, we have seen that the firefighters are wearing a certain amount of equipment, masks. What was maybe to here or to there was that as we drove around the city, we did see some people wearing masks, but some people weren't. People weren't gathering in large crowds, but they weren't exactly complying with all of the restrictions of social distancing. So I would say that it was about 50-50 in terms of compliance on the streets. What is true is that in terms of the fires not being allowed on this night of Lag BaOmer, this is a religious area, and so keeping that tradition is normally a cornerstone of that night for them here. And what we've seen so far is that they are following the guidelines. They're not starting those fires, and at least as the night progresses, I think these firefighters here also hope to see that will continue and that people will keep with those restrictions and guidelines.
Now, we should stress, Emily, that people, of course, can have barbecues or maybe little small fires at home, but where they're really looking for those big bonfires that draw big crowds on a normal Lag BaOmer.
Yes, and actually that was one of the concerns within putting these restrictions, is that not only does that include a bonfire outside, which on the face of it might actually be pretty safe, but also that it would encourage people to gather in large numbers. That's something that security services have wanted to avoid, and so thus they've put in these restrictions. But as we heard earlier in the broadcast, there is that one fire in the northern area of Israel that is traditional. They are allowing that with a limited amount of people, and that is according to the parameters and the guidelines given by Israeli security.
All right, Emily, I see you out there on the move with the firefighters on Lag BaOmer. Emily Rose, thank you for that report.